Welcome to Campfire Conversations. I'm Jeremy Litchfield. Before microphones and media, we had fire. It was the first circle and the first stage. It's where people gathered to connect. This podcast returns to that circle. These aren't interviews, they're heart-centered conversations where love and fear both have space to show up. Campfire Conversations is part of my Heartstrong adventure, a journey exploring where love and fear show up in our world, especially in the lives of men, and how freeing men from fear helps heal individuals, communities, and systems. These conversations aren't about providing answers. If anything, they bring up more questions. My hope is that what you hear makes you think differently, see things from a different angle, and maybe even sparks a conversation that leads to a breakthrough for you or someone you share it with. In this conversation, I'm sitting down with Carlos Walker. Carlos is an artist, an author, and one of the most love-centered people I've ever met. He spent 13 years in prison. Since coming home, he's sold over 14,000 copies of his book, hand to hand, standing in front of the National Museum of African American History and Culture nearly every day for the last 4 years. He's given away 3,500 books to kids, and he texts people just to tell them he loves them, including me. Carlos and I met at the Returning Citizens Luncheon in Virginia in 2024. Something about his art pulled me in. Since then, we've built a real friendship through weekly check-ins and the kind of honesty most people don't know how to offer. This past winter, we sat in front of a fireplace at a friend's house in Bethesda, Maryland. We talked about what love actually means, how he learned vulnerability inside a system designed to harden people, why hiding your past robs others of proof that transformation is possible, and why love has to flow through you, not just to you. Carlos has this line that has stayed with me. He says, people always see the butterfly, but you have to hear the caterpillar story too. That's what this conversation is about. If this work resonates with you, I would love your support. The best way to do that is to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with someone who might need to hear it. These conversations matter, and your support helps them reach more people. Now, let's go to the fire. Carlos, thank you so much for agreeing to come over to the other side of Potomac and meet with me. You know, it's a funny situation here. Here we are in front of a fireplace. Neither of us had our own residence, although I did live here before. I told you that when I started my first company, I lived in the basement of this house with some friends of ours. And so these are really close friends. So this seems like for me, it's almost like coming back home in a special place to have this conversation. But I'd love to get us started. So here we are, sitting in front of a fire at some good friends of mine's house. What are some as you look back and you think about some of the more critical things that have happened to you in your life that have brought you to this moment? What are those things? What are some of those highlights or whatever it may be? I mean, what has gotten to this point? You know, we've had a conversation before where you talked about everything that has happened to me is just everything that happens to people just makes people better, right? It just it's like those good and those bad things that just make you who you are, and you're the best. You're always the best version of who you are, and I really love that. So I'd love to hear who is the best version of Carlos and what got you there.
What got me here? So I'm actually not from this area. I'm actually from Southern Virginia, Halifax County, near Lynchburg and Danville.
Oh yeah.
And life took its course. I started doing art at the age of 8. Started selling drugs, I would say, or started selling candy at the age of 14 in high school. 14, started selling weed in high school at 14. The age of 24, I ended up going to prison. I got 4 sisters that stay up here. While I was in prison, me and one of my sisters had a conversation. Her name Lavinia Walker. And as we had this conversation, I thought about why not move, give myself a new start. So it will be 7 years, March 8th, that I've been up here. So this is what led me here and what got me to meet you through art.
Yeah.
God gave me an ability to be able to draw, and what I'm able to do, my art and my book led me here.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about the way that art has the ability to connect people, because you and I met at the Returning Citizens Luncheon in 2024, I
Mhm.
just happened to be walking by. Something about what you were doing just drew me in. And then over the course of weeks and months, we were communicating, and all of a sudden just became like really good friends. We developed
Mhm.
this really cool friendship just because of what you were putting out in the world creatively was drawing me in. And so as you talk about, obviously there's some things that led you here. And I
Mhm.
think, one of the things, what we would have never met had you not done some things that got you in prison.
Or if you hadn't chose to even be a part of something, the reform coming down to Taylor Paul's or Paul
Yeah,
Taylor's event, it goes both
it
ways.
does.
Even yourself, you decided to want to help out.
Yeah,
And that led, if you hadn't have did that, we still wouldn't have met.
yeah,
So decisions on both
yeah.
sides or things that we became passionate about that led both of us to be able to come here.
I was before we drove down to DC from Maine earlier this week. I had friend coffee with someone. It's interesting the choices you make in life and how when you follow your heart, the people that come into your life that never would have, we never would have met. And I was talking to a friend of mine, him, and we met through kind of all this journey and adventure I'm on right now. And we were talking about this idea of following your heart and how it's really hard to describe what that means. Like I can, I know what it means to me. I feel it, but I can't use it in words. When you think about that idea of following your heart, what does that mean to you? Can you describe it in words? Is it a feeling you have? Because I think a lot of what you're doing now is just you're following your heart. You're using your creativity, and yeah, I would love to hear how you actually think about that
Passion.
passion.
If I could put it in one word, it would be passion. Following your heart is following the instinct or your calling. So most of us, and this is just the way I think we have, hold on. Have you ever watched the movie Soul?
I haven't.
So there's a movie called Soul. It's a musician. He plays, I want to say a saxophone, might be a piano. But what ended up happening, this is one of his gifts. And he ended up dying. But his soul goes back and he had to talk and teach somebody else how to follow theirs. But the thing about the soul, you come here with the passion and it has to grow as you grow. For me, I think the soul or the person, the inner being of us, how this actually works is it knows past, present, future. What your body can only go through is present. So while when you get an instinct, it's almost like the older version of you is kind of guiding you to get you to where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's somebody going down an alleyway and they get an instinct, don't go.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn around, but then later on they find out something happened down that road. And it's these instincts is like the older version of us or our soul is leading us to the passion or the place that we are supposed to end up at. But what you have to do is go through the journey. You don't just get there. It's a journey or a destination that God knows where we're gonna end up at, but you have to go through it to become that version. It's
Yeah.
like you said, it's instinct, passion, it's following what you love or what you grow to love.
Yeah. I think, and we've had conversations before, and I think I remember we having a phone conversation one time, and you said, "Do you believe in God?"
Mm.
And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I believe in energy and in love," and you're like, "Well, that's what I call God,
Mhm.
right?" And I was like, "I got it," because it helped me understand kind of how you viewed religion,
Mhm.
and because I've struggled with religion from the standpoint of I've just seen it bring so much harm and hate into the
Tragedy.
world, right? And that it also brings so much good at the
Mhm.
same time. And so when you think about, for you, it's been a great guiding force. Has that been a constant in your life? Is that something that you discovered later in life? And how did that become such an important part of helping you move through the world?
So my parents, when I was real young, they actually, I guess you could say, instilled.
Yeah.
I remember probably about 3 or 4, my mother used to pray with me. I used to do the prayer. We get on our knees, go through it. But as I grew up, I learned that I had to follow it for myself. So when you think of God, when you think of anything, you think of a being that kind of like a parent. They want the best for their child. And when you mess up, it ain't that they leave you alone. Sometimes you have to go through consequences. And when you are on the right path, it's always reward. But things change and it start to lead you. So for me, it started off early. Then as I went through my journey of even selling drugs, I would pray and ask God to do things and watch God work on my behalf, still doing wrong. But that doesn't mean God dislike you or quit being with you just because you're doing something that you ain't got no business be. Or let me take that back. You have to go through a path sometimes to learn other people.
Yeah.
And as I went through my path, it brought me to this version of me now. But because I followed and then I started realizing where I could change certain things myself, I end up here.
Yeah. So how do you think for you in really a lot of my thought goes in right now is thinking about love. And it's such a complicated thing. Right? I've sat down with so many people and said, how do you define love? And some people have a really hard time doing it. And this is interesting. A lot of people have a hard time doing it. I find men have an especially hard time doing it. White men even have a harder time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And not to make it a thing of
color, but
color,
no,
race,
it's
or
just
anything
real
like that. But it's like there's some cultural conditioning that has gone on. And one of the things that I've talked about is that both times I've gone to the Returning Citizens Luncheon, what goes on inside that room is some of the most kind of love-filled space you can ever experience, right? And I tell people this, and they're expecting that people would be guarded and kind of like, and because there's perceptions, but it's not in any way.
Mm-mm.
And there's so much to be learned there about how you move through the world and how you can forgive and how people come together and support each other at their hardest and worst moment. So how do you actually think about love as, a word, as a feeling, as a way through the world? It's like, what does actually love mean to you?
So love, to your point, is very complicated. I just read, or I am reading a book called The 5 Love Languages. And in the book, very powerful book. And in the book, it speaks about how we love food.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one way you can love.
Yep.
How you can love, whether it's things, people, animals, it splits it up. Me, I realized that when it comes to kind of the love that you've seen at the that grew because most of us share we share the same experience.
Yeah.
So me, when I was in prison, I learned to love men by the stages of we had to live amongst each other. The only way that you're going to actually make it in here is that you learn to love and respect one another's space, who you are as an individual. And then what happens is you start to grow together as a bond. It's kind of like the military or a college fraternity. You love, the brotherhood becomes the love. Then it goes love for our counterparts, women. We have to learn how to be open. Love is vulnerability, just being vulnerable. And when you do, it's not a weakness, it's a strength.
Yeah.
And that can change the way you look at things, the way you interact with people. It just changed the whole perspective.
Yeah. And it's because when you think about, you say love is vulnerability, which is not a weakness, it's a strength. I 100% Agree. And then you think about the prison system. That is not a place
You
that
want to be
rewards
bought.
vulnerability.
Mhm.
It does the exact opposite. And I don't know if I told you, I was so my wife Becca grew up in Virginia Beach, and when we were down there for the holidays. Do you know who Sam Harris is?
No.
He's someone I've met through League for Safer Streets and Taylor Paul
Okay.
and all, and he has a program where he helps with reentry.
Hmm.
Anyway, he when he was at Lawrenceville,
Okay.
and when he was there, he started a men's group called I O More, and he invited me to go and take part of a session there. And I had no idea. I'd
What
never
you about
stepped
to be.
inside a prison before. I just hadn't. And what I witnessed there was some of the most amazing things. These men were willing to open up, and I was really surprised, but I wasn't surprised. It's one of those things. And how, I can't imagine, there's pockets of that, because I mean, the system's not designed to allow that to happen. How does that happen? Because you can go, it seems like when you're in those walls, you can go one or two ways. You can go down like a really bad road, and then or you can go down a road that leads to really great healing, and then people go on to do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
The work that you're doing, the work that Sam does, the work that P is doing, is going back into the communities, and as P says, helping to right some of the wrongs that I created.
Mm-hmm.
How does that's a choice, ends up being a choice. It's the hard choice too. It's the love choice.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up on that path? Because it's like,
so you have men that had already went through their own journey and became who they were supposed to be. Whether they was murderers, drug dealers, whatever may have happened, to get them there. But every version of us get better. Whether it's negatively better or whether it's positively better, you get better in life.
mm-hmm.
And what I learned is that these men had already reshaped themselves, and they was willing to give. When I say give, I'm talking about give time, teach classes. And these people, most of them are people with life sentences. So they're giving their time, they're giving their all, because to P's part, they want to right wrongs that they may have already started in the community. And whether it's the outside community or the inside community that's there, what they want to do is share their heart and their change, that it may duplicate or multiply more change.
Mm-hmm.
As far as P, I know he always speak about it. He taught classes, he did things, somebody showed love to him. So what he did was show love to others. And that is multiplying now through the people that have actually he's touched, whether it was the people that's in there that came home before him, or him coming out here and doing it for the youth, doing it for these people. And it's the same thing for all of us. We want to make sure that what was poured into us, we are pouring back out.
So it's a couple of things you said there. I think number one is love is contagious. It is. And it's not love in the sense, and this is where one of the challenges that I think the culture of white people, I'm just going to say what it is. Not all, but there's a certain way that we have been taught on what love is. And it's not everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but it's love is this feeling you have towards someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually someone of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've just been conditioned that way, it's hard to think about love as less of a feeling and way of moving through the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things when I was going into Lawrenceville, Sam asked me to talk about love in action. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not quite sure what value I can add to this room, because the lived experience of me versus anyone in that room is very different, even from the standpoint of not only that time being inside, but also some of the systems that led them to go there. And one of the things I think about a lot is typically what leads people down that path is there are crimes against humanity.
Mhm.
And there is a single crime that is often committed that gets someone in there. But there were crimes that were created before. And a lot of those crimes were done by people who look very much like me. That's reality. That's what I believe. And I'm like, I don't know what I have to value there. I don't think that in their what I'm going to say, I'm not sure if it's going to resonate. What I realized, number one, is that just my presence of being there was the most important thing. The appreciation of that. They were just like, there's people who care.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, and more people need to care because they felt the love. But one of the things where you talk about spilling is I shared a story with them of this idea of, and I said, hey, if you're walking in a crowded room and you're carrying a cup of coffee, someone bumps into you. Have you heard this before?
Mm-mm.
And you spill the coffee. Why did you spill the coffee? And I just gave them time to think. And most people will say, well, I spilled the coffee because someone bumped into me. It's like you spilled the coffee because you were carrying coffee. If you would have been carrying water, you would have spilled water.
Anything, really, yeah.
So what you carry is what you spill,
Mhm.
right? And you could just see, so it's like, and I said, what's amazing, you all are here trying to change what you carry.
And it's about to be what's spilled.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you carry fear, you're going to spill fear.
Mm-hmm.
Carry love, you're going to spill love. So someone was carrying love with P, and that spilled over. Someone was carrying love with you, that spilled over. And now, like, your whole, from what I can see, your entire existence is based upon giving to others, giving of your art and creativity. I know you're super passionate about going in and working with kids.
Mm-hmm.
We had the last, I know you had gone and you travel all over the place to bring books to kids and read to them.
I have been blessed to be able to do so.
And what pulled you there? I obviously love where did you realize that's what your calling was?
I can't remember or recall a whole book that I read before I went to prison. So once I started reading, and
so let me say that again, you can't remember reading a full
whole
book
book
before you went.
Not that I couldn't read, I could read.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember reading a book. But sitting in prison, I read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
And in me reading these books, what I realized was I grew.
Mm-hmm.
So my passion for others is to help them grow. And the earlier you can start them, the wiser they get before they get to certain ages. And for me, it's just help people either read early, whether it's youth or if it's older people, just get them to read. But two, get them to write.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know they can write a book. A book doesn't have to be this big. Everybody think that I need to write this. No, smaller is powerful. One of the most profound books I read other than the Bible and a few other books is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And it's probably about 60, I think it's like 63 pages. It's very short, but it's very profound. And for me, get people to do earlier on, you get to change their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can just get people to read. For me, I asked a couple people to donate some money, and they donated some money. And last year, to your point, I was able to give away 3,500 books to youth. And that was to inspire them to read, be able to draw if they can draw, but I want them to be able to know that they're gifted.
Yeah.
And whatever their gift is can change the world. Yeah.
And another thing, and I want to hear more about this, and this is a great time to do it, is you had sent me a video of you talking, and I think it's probably older, like high school or could have been middle school, but talking about rap debate.
No, I was actually at a college.
That was at college. Okay.
Yeah, I was at Howard University.
Oh, it was at Howard. Very
speaking
cool.
to some professors.
Okay. So rap debate, which I was like, the concept I think is amazing.
Appreciate you.
Right? Because here you are taking something like debate. Let's be real. Debate is not something that the cool kids want to do. It's not necessarily always highly looked at. It's an incredibly important skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden you add this element on and a language that they can understand, and just ability to be able to rap. And I mean, even when you look at the history of rap, and I remember you talking about it in that video, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about it. Is like there was kind of like there are conversations that go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Was that adding value or making them better versus what if it was done in a debate format? I would love to hear more about like where did this idea come from? What do you want to do with it? Because to me, it just seems like such a genius idea to engage young people in a way that's gonna like draw them in.
So in prison, I was on the debate team. They only had it one time. So I realized they say in hindsight, everything is 2020.
Yeah.
I realized that had this not happened, I wouldn't have had this idea. But the idea originally started from me being on a debate team in prison. And one day he was a coworker of mine. He was actually a manager. He used to sell cars. And we was on the phone just having a conversation, and we was talking about rap. And somehow the idea of debate came up in my mind, and I brought it up. We started talking about it, but since then, this was in 2021.
Okay.
I want to say September of 2021. And from then till now, the idea won't stop.
Yeah.
It won't remove from my mind. So what I did, we ended up doing the beginning of 2022, I want to say February, we had our first pilot. And then I did it a few times with a couple, I think it was it wasn't a camp, but it was like a youth group. I did it again in Arkansas at a detention center. And right now I'm working with a school in Chicago to get the first pilot done in a school. And I'm working to see if I can find other schools where I can make a circuit for it, where they can start getting other schools to debate with them. And I want to see it at HBCUs.
Yeah.
I want to see my biggest idea, think American Idol.
Yeah.
But American Idol with the rappers debating on stage.
Yeah.
And technically probably to either get an album done or to win some money financially, however the case may be, but to get them to be able to use their craft or their skill in the most profound way, but where it changes the community. Because rap is, and you probably heard me say it, when you think about a rap battle, as great as I love rap battle, but the substance ain't there.
Yeah.
They're just talking about one another.
Yeah.
But they are phenomenal at their craft.
Yeah.
But when you add value, you can put a subject there. They can go left and right, back and forth over it all day. For me, everybody know how to debate. For the most part, especially in the Black community, we debate over everything.
I love when you said that.
Yeah, we debate over everything. But I realized that debate is not meant to be argumentative.
Yeah.
When you think about Congress, we see the arguing part. What we don't always see is they're creating solutions. So debate is actually a solution builder.
Yes.
When you take left and right, no matter what the conversation is, and you analyze both sides, and now you come together and say, look, let's vote. Let's have a conversation about what can actually be fixed or right or pull out the wrongs, because both sides got right and wrong.
Yep.
People don't pay attention to the solution. And when you do it, you come out way better. I heard a guy, I think it was Jim Rohn, and he was speaking about if you take $1, if I take $1, you take $1, we swap dollars, you just end up with $1.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take information,
mm-hmm.
and my information, your information, you leave with twice as much. I do too. I'm going to add this because this wasn't in there. To an audience, they get 3 times what they came with and what we just gave them. They leave with 3 times as much. And if you do it right, you can impact communities with debate, with rap, with everything. But how do you do it in a way where it's not destructive, but constructive?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm working on.
Yeah. Is this where, would you consider this to be your primary passion right now, of trying to get that going? I mean, I also know you have another. Have you finished the book on what I learned from trees?
Not yet. Working on this.
No, I'm not trying to like put pressure on you. I know
you
you got your hands in a lot of different things.
Nah, you good.
And okay, so it's like, I know you're out hand to hand selling your book, What If, right?
What If.
Which is what initially drew us in, brought us together. And I was loving that. The day after, was it the day? Yeah, the day after I saw you in Norfolk.
Y'all see me in the museum
up protesting
at the African American Museum.
Yeah. And you had met some of them the day before, right? Yeah, because are you out there like almost?
I've been there for 4 years. So in 2021 was August 6th of 2021, my job fired. But 2 weeks before they fired me, they was doing some over there, and I went over there and I sold 7 books. The next weekend, I went back out there, I sold 10. And I said, oh, I can do this every weekend. Little did I know my job was going to fire me. And they fired me because they wanted me to go back to selling cars instead of doing tag and title work. And just so happened, I got a taste of freedom from doing tag and title work, because selling cars, you do this all day.
Yeah.
And when I got that taste of freedom, I did not want to go back.
Yeah.
I had a vision in my mind that crossed while after they had left out my desk. And from August 6th of 2021 till now, I go over there every day and I sell books, normally for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I make roughly about $200 a day selling books. And then I go to the National Harbor. But that is, that's what I've been at for the last 4 years, 4 years and some change now.
Yeah. And so there's some things in there I think are amazing. Number one is people have good ideas all the time, and ideas are great. But when it comes down to getting your idea out there and trying to, like, doing the hard work, like, that's where people that's where fear starts to creep in, right? Because you could have gone out there you said you went out there that first time and you sold 7 books.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might view that as, I only sold 7 books. This is a waste of my time. This is stupid. And they start all that judgment. Some people might be like, I sold 7 books. That's 7 more than I sold yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a complete mindset thing. And people who have never done something like that don't know how hard it is to continually kind of, I don't want to say grind it out, but it can be very hard. And I know for you, you love that hand-to-hand selling of each book, right? Because, I mean, how many, have you developed a decent number of relationships through the transfer of that book?
So as of now, I've sold 14,400 plus books.
Mm-hmm.
14,100 been hand in hand and signed every one of them. But I have got countless relationships from literally selling the book. This one came from me introducing the book.
Yeah,
being at the event, but because of the book, I have people who text me all the time and just be like, "Yo, thank you for sharing your story, but it came through God blessing me with a book to be able to share with the world." And I got over 3,000 people in my phone. And yeah, it's mind blowing. I don't talk to everybody, but every now and then I get some in my spirit to say, reach out to people, tell them you love them, and I do it. And it's crazy how it falls. But I have gained some of the greatest relationships by not living in fear.
Yeah.
By saying, hey, I'm going to go stand in front of the museum and see if I can sell books. And ever since then, it's been my...
I think, one of the I think the greatest gifts you have given me in the friendship is, like, we exchange emails and texts, and just like there'd be a day I'd just get a text message from you. Love you, bro. And it's like, you know what? It's so easy to do to just let someone know you're thinking of them. And what that does for that person can be, because you never know what state that person's in.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be times I'll get a message from you and just, yeah, I just needed a little bit of kind of like, and it's great. And just so many people hold back that sharing, and I'm just trying to get better and better at, like, like with my friends, like if there's something I appreciate about them, I'm just like, just tell them. Like if I think one of my friends is a really good father, I'm like, dude, you're a really, and it just, and you can just see how much that means to them.
Mm-hmm.
That because people really want to be appreciated. They want to be seen. They want to be understood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be seen as a whole human. I think that's something that you have kind of helped me just kind of remember the importance of. So I'm just so grateful for that.
Appreciate it. Look, I learned, one of my friends gave me a book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Is it Napoleon Hill?
I know
That
the
might not
book.
be
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill, but great book. But what you want to do is not just, and I know you're not going to do this, but you want to make sure that you're sincere. Because I don't know if this book actually meant to be sincere when you do it, but
yeah,
if you are sincere, what happens is that people feel it.
Yeah.
One of my mentors, he recently told me this. He said, what he think that I am here to do is give people an awe. Let people live in awe. And when you think, what is awe? It's a feeling. It's something that you feel, and when you share it with somebody, you're a great father. That's a feeling of awe. It's a feeling that they get in them that somebody's seen. When I text you and just be like, look, love you, man. And you be like, it's a feeling that comes with it. It's a feeling of awe. And I understood it when he told me, is that it's the feeling that I always feel, but everybody else may not always feel. But what I get to do is give it to them. And what happens is it spills over. For earlier, it get to spill over because you felt it. So now you're looking at, how can I give it away? What I feel that somebody else gave me. And that's the same thing. That's what love is. It's not fear, because you can get that, but it's me saying, look, I may have feared at one point or didn't even know how to give this away. Now and now I can care less what they may think. I know what they're going to feel once I do it.
Yeah.
And it changes people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because when I like how you distinguish between what they think versus what they feel. Because oftentimes we have a hard time connecting the two. And so earlier, like today, I spent a lot of time, I'm exploring this thing. It's called heart math. Okay. Have you ever heard of this? Mm-hmm. Interesting. It basically, they're doing a lot of scientific validation of the connection between the heart. There's like the heart has a brain, in that where we become coherent, when we're in this state of coherence, is when there's a connection between our brain and our heart. And it's like literally they can track this and monitor it and stuff. And what's even more amazing is that our heart gives out like fun energy, electricity. And that extends like 3 feet beyond us. So when you talk about,
there'll be like an aura.
Yeah. And so like we can feel it. And so when you talk about the idea of being sincere, when we're together, people fundamentally know that. But I actually have a book to give you that I heard about recently. It's called Beyond Anxiety, but it's not about anxiety. It's about the relationship between creativity and anxiety. And it's based on a lot of science and stuff like this. But what they're seeing now is that they used to know that anxiety would turn off creativity. That when you're a state of anxiety, which is fear-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think creatively. What the science is showing now, that creativity
Kills
turns
anxiety.
off anxiety. The inverse is true as well,
Hmm.
right? And so the reason why I wanted to get this book for you, I'm in the process of reading it, but I wanted to bring you a copy as well, is because the work you're doing with kids of helping them find ways to express themselves creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be reading a book and where that goes with their imagination, or believing, or trying to draw, or
Mm-hmm.
writing, right? Those are all creative expressions. And when you're in that, it tones down
All the noise.
and the anxiety. And so I thought you would appreciate it, because I think it might even give you a little bit more of in terms of how you think about
Mm-hmm.
the work you do, and how you can continually impact their lives. Because I love when I get pictures when you're with, it's so great that, the way you're so selfless with what you're doing. I just so admire that, because as we're told, culture tells us as men, you need to work, you need to make money. That's what your job is to do.
That's what they say. That's what you got to do now. That's what you got to eat.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But it's kind of like a yes and. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do those things. But it gets to a point where if you're not filling yourself up with things other than money's important. I get it. It's how we exchange.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to a certain point where there's different types of wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's relationship wealth, there's health, there's social,
Health,
all these
health
things.
is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Health as well. I would hate to be financially wealthy and sick.
Yeah.
Because what happens, you'll end up spending all your money to try to get back health. Steve Jobs couldn't do it.
Nope.
You can run yourself sick. Or I told somebody else, I'd rather be broke and healthy. Because what that means, I do get to live a long time, and you can always make some money.
Yeah.
Money isn't the sole or the be all.
Yeah.
Me, I think I heard one of my friends, he said, your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
You can be broke. If you know somebody with $1 million, you'll never be broke.
Yeah.
Especially if they care for you.
Yeah.
Whether it's an idea you can give them and they mess around and can use it. You want relationships. Wealth comes in many ways, but to your point, I realized that you only, I think it was recently, I was listening to this guy named Miles Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe. He passed in a helicopter crash, but he was a pastor. And he said, what are you leaving when you leave? You can leave money to a group of people, or you can leave impact. And impact lasts longer. The money might die off in a generation. The impact of you impact 1,000 people, what you gave them will never die, because they're going to give it to everybody else. And that means it multiplies. And when he said it, I was like, wow. I would rather leave a bunch of impact. So whether it's to 3,500 kids, God bless me to give a book to, that's 3,500 people I know I impacted.
And the number of people they're going to impact.
Those are the seeds. God told you, or in the Bible it says in Genesis, be fruitful and multiply. It wasn't just dealing with kids. It was dealing with ideas, thoughts.
Yeah.
And those thoughts multiplying, but impact does that. And when you impact people, it continuously grows. Somebody will always say, I remember Carlos, or I remember Jeremy, but that impact, because their kids may remember Jeremy, even when Jeremy not even here, but they know Jeremy's name.
Yeah.
Money don't do that.
Even you could have the most amazing mansion that at some point it's going to go away.
Either gonna get knocked down or it's gonna go down.
Yeah. But if you can continue that, and it goes back to, I think when we were talking in Norfolk, you said something that I really liked. It's like, you said some people, like, people die twice. When you physically lose your body, the last time someone says your name, I think is what you had said.
I got it from somebody else, but yes.
Yes. But I love that, because it's like this whole, and what's so interesting is I had this conversation with someone who has worked in finance. He worked in finance most of his career. And then he realized, as he was looking up at like where that next level would be, he's like, I don't want to be like anyone up there. And he started to really examine how bad our relationship is with money. And people are like, really, one of the biggest fears people have is dying alone and cold. Here's the irony. By focusing on money, you're almost guaranteed
to die alone and cold.
Right? And it's like, that idea of the challenging part is knowing you might not see the fruits of your labor. And I saw something somewhere where it said, real men plant trees that they will never bear the fruits of.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard something.
I've heard the same thing.
Similar, right? And the question, how do we get more men understanding the importance of something like that?
Conversation. I just had a conversation so when I first came home, there's this gym that I worked at for 3.5 years. It's called Result Fitness in Alexandria. And I met the owner back then. And today just so happened, we ran into him again at the gym. I still work out at the gym. But I ran into him and I asked him, I said, I told him thank you, because the gym was there for me to, even when I came home. Somebody actually, my sister gave me a pass, a 7-day pass. I took and walked around, asked the guy, could I do some pull-ups? He asked me, did I want a job after I finished. Worked there for 3.5 years. And this guy, he's the manager, technically co-owner now, I think. But the original owner, he did some time. He has never told nobody
that he did time.
His kids don't know. Pretty much a lot of people don't know. And what I was sharing with him is he should share it. Because what he's doing is holding the true power that he actually has away from people. It's not the fact that he has a few gyms. That's money. His true impact has never really been able to be expressed because he's holding it like this.
Yeah.
And when you let it loose, it's that people can see that they can have something happen.
Yes.
And end up here. And that is life-changing for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Larry Miller. Larry Miller is the chairman for Jordan.
The Jordan brand.
Yes.
Yep.
He ended up doing some time in prison. And I don't know how many years it's been now, but he ended up coming out and sharing it with people. But what he's been able to do since then has been mind-blowing, groundbreaking. Yeah. But before then, he was hiding.
Yeah.
You can't hide. You're meant to share these stories of, I messed up back there. That ain't who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Because to me, as I always share with you, you're perfect at every stage.
Yes.
You needed to be this version of you to show that people can change. We are some of the only creatures in the world that you truly don't get to see the evolution of. When you think about caterpillars, they become butterflies. When you think about anything else in nature, yes, you see it grow. You see us grow, but we really don't think about how we're either still growing or whatever. But you have to be able to hear the caterpillar story. People always see the butterfly. Your kids, They wake up seeing the butterfly. When they come into the world, they don't know, oh man, you did this when you was young, you did this, you gravitated, but this is what you became. If you never share that story, people don't know that they can grow or that they can become something great.
Yeah. I think there's a lot in there I think is super important. I've read something literally this week that talks about how people, if you ask them how much they have changed over the last 10 years, they'll say a lot, or even the last 5 years. If you ask them how much they think they're going to change over the next 5 years, they'll say not much.
It's going to be a lot.
But it's going to be a lot. But the people think they're going to change.
They want to stay the same.
Yes.
But no, that is not life. I realized that my 20-year-old self didn't know that this would be me at 44. My 60-year-old self is going to be a whole different version. And that's the reason why I said your spirit knows past, present, future.
Yeah.
Your body can only grow into who you're becoming, but there's an end version of you. And the question is here, because this is your battleground. What do you want to be, or what do you imagine? What can you see? They can't see themselves growing but so far. But if you know that you've grown that far up to now, it's almost endless where you can be in the next 10 years, 5 years. But you have to also be able to be a visionary, to be able to see that or have a picture of where I want to be.
Yeah. And it's oftentimes, do you know who Matthew McConaughey is, the actor? Huge fan of him. He has a weekly thing he puts out called Lyrics for Living.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's got a cool voice, like, it's just fun to listen to him talk. But he's also got a tremendous amount of wisdom. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he talks about is, to sum it up, it's like most of the ceilings are the ceilings we put on ourselves.
Battleground.
And like he said, the word, forget what it was, unimaginable, or something like that, but same concept, unimaginable, shouldn't even be in your vocabulary.
Get rid of certain words, because while you understand them, words have power. There's a Bible verse that says life and death is in the power of the tongue. You can curse yourself I tell people, never say I'm broke. That's a curse on you. Tell yourself you're rich and allow this right here is nothing but the GPS. When you put a destination in the GPS, the first time that you do it, you see the whole layout. After you hit start, it's only inch by inch. It's never the whole picture no more. When you first do it, you're going to see 6 miles, take a left. That's as far as it gives you.
Yeah. Step
by step.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to get in here and realize that by the end of this year, what is it that you want? And then at least have that version in your mind and allow the steps to fulfill itself. But unimaginable. Yeah. Never put certain words in your mouth, because you keep yourself hitting the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you set that vision, and then I think an important part of that is, number one, disattach yourself from how it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because it may not come the way you want.
Exactly.
But it's going to come.
You just don't know. And then also knowing that sometimes as part of that journey, that vision might change. And something unimaginable all of a sudden comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never would have imagined that this is what I would be doing. If you would have asked me a year ago if I was going to be spending the bulk of my time writing and talk about love and fear, maybe a year and a half ago, I'd have been like, come on, that's just stupid. But that's what I'm doing.
You're walking into a different purpose.
Yeah.
Every part of life has played itself the way it's supposed to play itself up until now, whether it was something that you may deemed as hard, what you should know now from, how old are you?
I am 48, maybe 49 later.
Going up to 48, you know you can say, I can do some hard things. I done been through some stuff. But where I'm at now, even if something arrive, I know one thing. I got enough ammunition to know that I can get past this too. Most people forget this. They only live in the present and say, oh, this is hard. Probably went through harder. We allow this thing that we call our mind, one, and don't take this the wrong way, not saying that mental health ain't right. I mean, isn't there? But what we have allowed to happen is the world have told everybody that they're mentally ill. And what has happened is everybody, if something happens, something challenges you, you just break down. That is not the way the world, you're supposed to have challenges. If everything goes right for your whole life, how would you appreciate? You appreciate nothing. You want something, or you should want something to happen every now and then to shake your life up, to say, I can do some hard thing. There's a Bible verse that I do this quite often, but there's a Bible verse that says, and we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God. You got to know that good and bad, or what we think is bad, is working out to strengthen you.
We just assign, that's what we assign it. We call it that. We just
It's
don't
not even
know.
bad.
We don't know. And it's one of those things, because if this hadn't happened, and it's, and I think, that's so people where we are in the world right now, there's some really, I don't want to call them bad things. There's some really weird things going on.
Weird things.
We'll call them weird, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are saying this is bad. At the same time, it's making people realize
what's important.
Yes. In that democracy, freedom, equality, justice are things we need to continually work for. Because when we start resting on those things, there are people who want to take those things away for their own power. And it's a reminder, it's like, this is all an experiment. We don't know where this is going. Nothing is guaranteed.
Ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
I just thought about it last night when I was on my way home. I was thinking about a children's book, or just a book. Not to be honest, none of my books are actually for children, but they just end up being a box of crayons, many colors. But the thing about it, they're all crayons.
Yeah.
People, different colors, different genders. You got everything going on. They're all people. We have to figure out that whether it's me coloring in the lines on this one with this specific color, or whatever the case may be, they're all called to do the same thing, and let's get the picture done. But they all have to work together in their place to get the picture done. They're all people. Let's figure out how to work together, opposed to being separate. And what happens, it's supposed to be for the people anyway. According to the Constitution, we the people. But the people ain't doing, we ain't got control of nothing.
Yeah. So this is a thought you had yesterday driving? You're going to turn this into a...
I'm thinking about playing with it. I got probably about 3 other projects. I need to finish one of them before, like the trees book. Yep. What I learned from trees, need to finish this. Got another book I really just got to publish this one. It's called The 14 Keys of Success. And then I may just work with this crayon book. It's very interesting.
Even when you think about, if you look at a painting, and that's a little bit, that's like that painting over there, right? There's a lot of blue in that painting.
Different color blues.
There's all sorts of blues, right? And so it goes back to this thing of, and this is, people have a really hard time wanting this, because people love black and white. It's like that picture right there, it's very clear where colors begin and end. Not to take anything away from that picture. Over there, it's a whole lot less clear.
Mhm.
And my wife Beck and I go to a Unitarian Universalist church, and it's basically it's more of a kind of a spiritual practice where
Mhm.
we're pulling in from all sorts of different faiths.
Buddhist, everybody.
Everything. There's so much to be learned because, and basically, the whole basis of it is centering love and
Mhm.
then having values around that. Um, and so, like when we were here, we were in DC on Sunday, so we went to the church we used to go to when we lived down here, and it's in Mount Pleasant, and it
Mhm.
was much more centered in Christianity
Mhm.
because it was the MLK service, which was amazing. But his family called him ML. So I'm like, we got to start calling him ML. That was his nick. That's what his sister and brother. Anyway, but I was sitting down with the minister from our church, and she's a lesbian, like all tatted out, but be what you expect for a minister. But she's amazing, and we were talking about queerness and the idea of queerness, and she was like, it's really a spectrum of like you're not queer or not. Everyone is somewhere on the spectrum because the definition of queer has nothing really to do with gender identity or sexual identity. Queerness is fundamentally how kind of different are you than kind of cultural norms
Mhm.
or kind of like cultural conditioning, right? And people have a hard time of thinking about things being on spectrum, right?
Mhm.
And even if you say white in terms of a race,
Mhm.
well, 100 years ago, I would not have been considered white. I wouldn't have been considered anything because I'm Italian. And as we were coming to this country, we weren't considered white. However, we realized we had to align ourselves with
Acclimated,
those
yes.
people because that's where the power was, right?
Yes.
And so at
Acclimation.
any given time, these things are changing. And
Mhm.
so that's why I think it's so beautiful about you, what you were talking about, because at the end of the day, a picture with one color, boring. You don't see the differences. And I mean, because even just like if you just had a canvas that was one shade of orange is my favorite color, then it would be a boring picture.
Mhm.
But if it had many different
Shades
shades
of
of
orange.
orange, and then you bring in other colors,
It changes the picture. It makes the picture jump.
yeah, I love that. Um, Last thing I want to talk about is this idea of the reason why I like to have these in sort of fire is because fire oftentimes, it requires tend. If we wanted to keep this going, I would have had to move the grate, put more logs
Mhm.
on there. And I like this idea of the fire, not something we just tend in terms of tending a fire, but fires that we tend in ourselves,
Mhm.
fires that we tend in our communities, fires that we tend in each other, right? And so we're in this very interesting time where people are like, it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, it's never been like this before. Well, it's never, every time has never been like this before, right? I don't know. But when you think about from your perspectives, the fires that are important for you that you want to tend, you want to intend in yourself, you want to intend in others, you want to intend in young people, you want to intend in your community. What are those fires that are most important to you right now?
Share more love with people
Share more love with people.
because that is a fire that needs to be either started where it can shoot a blaze, not water. So that would be the one. Getting people to understand that they are loved.
Mm-hmm.
That when you give it, don't always look for it back, especially to the people you've given it to. Allow God to bring somebody else that'll give it because that's what normally happens. We expect something from people when we give, but when you give something, you shouldn't look back for it. That lets you know that you're actually truly doing what you're supposed to do when you're not looking back for something.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard E.T. Eric Thomas, they call him the hip hop preacher.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was just talking about how when somebody gives somebody some money, after 7 years, and even in the Bible, it speaks about God basically wiping the debt free. But when you are called to be a lender and not a borrower, you actually should be looking to realize that a lender gets beat probably a lot of times. It don't mean he stopped lending. But what happens is, know that God is your greatest source, or love, or whatever you may believe in. That is your greatest source. And you are always taken care of. And normally things flow through you, not just to you and stop.
Yeah.
So if I stop giving love because somebody don't give me love, I stop.
Yeah.
But if I allow love to continue to flow through me, there's more people that get it than just that one person that didn't show it back. You'll cut yourself off if you do. So I want to make sure that I'm pushing love out.
I think there's a couple things in there that are really, really important for people to remember. Number one, love is about releasing expectations.
It's our condition.
And even like I've had these conversations with people before, like the expectation when you say I love you to someone is that they're going to say it back.
Mhm.
That's not the right expectation.
Don't even look for them.
Because
if they don't, you hurt.
But it's like it doesn't matter.
Because it's me who is the person that's loving.
Yes.
Even if they choose that to, I
Yeah.
should know I still.
Yeah. And oftentimes, like you said, they might not have the love to give because they haven't been filled up with that.
Mhm.
Who knows where they are? And you're helping to fill them up. And yeah, I think that's such a awesome way to kind of bring us to an end here. So appreciative of you. You don't know how much I value the friendship that we have developed over the last couple years, how important it is that I think you are so open with sharing your story and not hiding parts of you that you might not be proud of, but they're parts of you, right?
Mhm.
And if more people did that, we would see the full humanity in each other, which is so important, right? The full humanity. And this, just the idea of all these things that have happened to us have only made us better, made us the perfect version of ourselves as we are right now. And we're just going to only get more perfect.
You only get better.
I sometimes don't like to use the word perfect because
it doesn't mean the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people think that it means end.
No.
It's a more perfect version of you. But in the moment, you're the most perfect version you've ever been.
Yeah, like perfectly imperfect. Love you, brother.
I love you too, man.